The evening sky over the Texas frontier was turning orange and purple, the kind of sunset that made even a hard-working man stop and look for a moment. Elias Ward, a quiet cowboy with strong shoulders and steady hands, stood near his ranch gate as the last light faded. He had spent his whole day fixing fences, feeding the animals, and checking the cattle scattered over his wide land. He was tired, ready to rest, but something unusual made him pause. His horse. Dusty raised its head and gave a soft warning sound. Elias felt the same sense of alertness rise in his chest. Out here on the frontier, a man learned to trust the small signs, the shift of a horse's ears, the strange silence of the field, or the way the wind carried something different. Elias slowly placed his hand on the rifle, leaning against the fence. He didn't want trouble, but he had to be ready. Cattle thieves sometimes moved through the valley. Lonely ranches were easy targets. The night grew darker, but Elias's eyes were sharp. He spotted movement near the cattle pens, a shadow slipping between the posts, low and quick. His jaw tightened. He quietly lifted the rifle and walked toward the shape, moving slowly so he wouldn't scare his animals. When he stepped closer, he saw the figure freeze. Elias called out, his voice calm but firm. "Who's there?" There was no answer, only the soft sound of someone breathing fast. He took another careful step. "If you're here for the cattle, you should turn around and leave. I won't warn twice." The figure suddenly stepped into a bit of moonlight, and Elias's breath caught. It wasn't a man. It wasn't a thief. It was a young woman, shaking from head to toe, with dust on her face and clothes torn from travel. She looked like she had walked a long distance under the hot sun. Her hair was messy, her skin carried the tired look of someone who had not eaten properly in days, and her eyes were wide with fear. She lifted her hands slowly, as if trying to show she meant no harm. "Please, please don't shoot," she whispered. Her voice cracked, weak from thirst. "I'm not here to steal anything. I just needed a place to hide." Elias lowered the barrel slightly but kept his guard. Out here, strangers could mean danger even if they looked weak. "Who are you?" he asked gently. "My name is Mara," she said, taking a small step forward before stopping again. "I didn't want to scare you. I'm sorry. I'm lost. I'm tired. I've been walking for days." Elias could see she was trembling so badly that her hands shook in the air. Her knees looked weak, as if she might fall any second. Whatever trouble she came from, she was running from something, and she had reached her limit. He still didn't know her story, so he kept a safe distance. "Why were you hiding near my ranch?" he asked. She swallowed, her throat dry. "I saw the lights of your house from far away. I didn't know if it was safe to come closer. I've been wandering since morning. I had no water left. I thought, maybe I could rest near the fence. I wasn't trying to take anything." Elias's grip on the rifle softened. She didn't look like a person who meant harm. She looked like someone who had endured too much and had no strength left to lie. But he needed to understand more. "Where did you come from?" he asked quietly. Mara hesitated, her lips pressing together as if she feared saying too much. "There were some men traveling across the valley," she said slowly. "They claimed they would take care of me after my family died during the journey west. But things became unsafe. I escaped when they stopped for camp. I've been trying to reach a town, any town, but I got lost." She shook her head, tears filling her eyes from exhaustion. "I didn't mean to step on your land. Please don't send me back out there. Just let me stay for one night. I'll sleep outside. I won't bother you." For a long moment, Elias stayed silent. He looked at her carefully, not in judgment, but with the cautious eyes of a man who had lived alone for years and had seen many kinds of people on the frontier. Mara's face showed fear, but not the kind of fear a guilty person carried. It was the fear of someone who had lost everything. Her voice trembled again. "Please, spare me. I will do anything. I'll work for food. I'll clean. I'll help on the ranch. I don't want to be sent back out there alone." Elias felt a weight in his chest. He remembered nights when he himself had felt alone, especially after his parents passed and the ranch became his only home. Loneliness could crush a person more than hunger or cold, and this girl, She looked like she had been fighting both. He slowly lowered his rifle completely. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. "You don't have to beg like that. I won't turn you away into the dark." Mara's shoulders sank in relief, and her knees gave out as she collapsed onto the ground, breathing hard. She hadn't eaten or slept properly for so long that her body was finally giving up. Elias quickly rushed forward, leaning his rifle against a post before kneeling beside her. "Easy," he said gently. "You're safe now. You just need rest." He offered his hand. Mara hesitated for a second, then placed her trembling hand in his. Her fingers were cold, almost fragile, and Elias realized just how exhausted she was. He helped her stand. She swayed slightly, and he steadied her with a careful grip on her arm. "Come on," he said kindly. "You can't stay out here. There are coyotes around. I'll take you inside, give you some water and something to eat." "You don't have to do that," Mara whispered, still catching her breath. "I know," Elias replied, "but I'm doing it anyway." He led her toward the house. She walked slowly, each step heavy. When they reached the porch, Elias opened the door to the warm glow of the lantern inside. The small wooden house was simple: a table, a few chairs, a stone fireplace, and shelves filled with tools and supplies. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe. Elias guided her to a chair near the fire. Mara sat down carefully, her hands shaking as she placed them in her lap. He poured water into a tin cup and handed it to her. "Drink slowly," he said. "Too fast will make you sick." She nodded and took small sips. Her eyes closed for a moment, as if even drinking required energy she barely had. Elias warmed some soup over the fire. When it was ready, he placed a small bowl in front of her. She whispered a soft thank you before eating in slow, careful bites. Elias sat across the table, watching her with quiet concern. The house was silent, except for the crackle of the fire and the wind brushing the windows. After a few minutes, he finally spoke. "You said you've been walking for days?" Mara nodded. "I tried to follow the river, but I got confused. I didn't know if I was getting closer to a town or farther away. Then the sun got too hot, and I ran out of water yesterday." Elias's eyes softened. "You must have been scared." "I was," she whispered. "I only kept going because I hoped someone kind would find me. I never thought you'd lower your gun." Elias exhaled slowly. "I thought you were a thief at first. I'm sorry if I scared you." "You were just protecting your land," she said quietly. "I understand." There was a brief silence between them, not uncomfortable, but delicate, like two people trying to understand each other. Finally, Elias said, "You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow, when you're rested, you can tell me what you want to do next. I won't force you to stay or leave." Mara looked up at him, her eyes soft with gratitude. "Thank you. I didn't expect anyone to help me. I was sure no one would believe me." "I believe what I see," Elias replied gently. "And I see someone who needs help, not harm." Mara's eyes filled again, but this time the emotion wasn't fear, it was relief. The fire warmed the room. Elias gave her a blanket and showed her a small corner of the house where she could lie down. He didn't ask anything more of her, didn't question her further. He simply made sure she had a safe place to rest. As she lay down, Mara whispered, "Tonight is the first time I feel safe in a long time." Elias nodded softly. "Then rest. Tomorrow will be better." And for the first time in many days, Mara closed her eyes without fear. Knowing that the simple kindness of one quiet cowboy had changed everything. The next morning arrived slowly over the ranch, with soft light touching the hills and the quiet sound of birds waking. Elias stepped outside before sunrise, as he did every day. The air was cool, the grass wet with dew, and a soft mist moved along the ground. He checked the animals, filled the water troughs, and repaired a loose piece of fence. The work kept his mind steady, but his thoughts kept drifting back to the young woman sleeping inside his house. He didn't know much about her yet. He didn't know what she had gone through or how far she had traveled. All he knew was that she had arrived frightened and weak, and now she was sleeping under his roof. Elias was not used to having anyone else in his house. For years he lived alone, his days filled with work, silence, and the quiet company of nature. Having another person, especially someone so vulnerable, made the ranch feel different. When he returned inside, the morning sun had just reached the windows. Mara was awake, sitting quietly on the edge of the blanket he had given her. Her hair was still messy, her clothes worn, but her face looked a little better after a night of rest. The fear in her eyes had softened, replaced by uncertainty. Elias spoke first to ease her discomfort. "Good morning," she looked up, offering a small but warm smile. "Good morning. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sleep for so long." "You needed it," Elias said simply. "There's no rush." Mara lowered her eyes. "Thank you for letting me stay last night. I don't know how to repay your kindness." "You don't have to repay anything," he replied. "Sometimes helping someone is just the right thing to do." Mara nodded slowly, as if she wasn't sure how to accept such kindness. She watched him prepare a simple breakfast: bread, beans, and eggs cooked over the fire. She offered to help, but Elias gently waved it off. "You can help when you're stronger. For now, let yourself rest." After breakfast, Mara walked outside with him. The fresh morning air touched her face, and she closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. "It's peaceful here," she whispered. "It is," Elias agreed. "I've lived here my whole life. I got used to the quiet." For a few moments, they stood side by side without speaking. The silence between them was calm, not tense. Mara watched the horses in the field, how they moved with slow confidence, how the sunlight made their coats shine. She had never seen such a peaceful sight in a long time. Elias finally asked gently, "Mara, do you want to tell me more about what happened?" "Only if you want to. I won't force you." Mara hesitated. She looked at her hands, twisting her fingers nervously. "I don't know where to start," she admitted. "It feels like everything happened so fast." "Start wherever you want," Elias said. "You're safe here. You can take your time." She swallowed and nodded. "My family was traveling west for a new start. But the road was hard, and things went wrong. After that, I had no one left. A group traveling nearby said they would help me, but they made decisions for me that made me feel unsafe. I felt trapped. So one night, I ran and kept running." Her voice trembled, but she kept it steady. "I didn't want to trouble anyone. I thought I could reach a town. I thought someone kind would help me, but the frontier is big and empty." Her eyes glistened, but she did not cry. She had shed too many tears already. Elias listened with gentle patience. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. When she finished, he said only, "You did what you had to do, and you're safe now." Mara took a deep breath, looking out at the land. "I still feel scared," she whispered. "I don't know what will happen next." "You don't need to worry about that today," Elias said. "One day at a time is enough." Mara nodded, feeling a strange sense of comfort in his calm voice. Later that morning, Elias began his usual ranch chores. Mara followed him, insisting she should help even a little. Elias didn't want to overwork her, but he saw that helping gave her purpose, something to focus on besides her fears. He showed her how to gather eggs from the chicken coop. She moved slowly at first, unsure of herself. Elias watched her carefully, ready to step in if she needed help. But Mara did well, gently picking up each egg and placing it in the basket with care. "You're good at this?" Elias said. Mara smiled, a real smile this time, small but genuine. "I've helped with chores before," she replied softly. "It feels normal." A word she hadn't felt in a long time. Throughout the day, she helped with small tasks, sweeping the porch, washing the dishes, folding some old blankets. Elias didn't ask her to do anything difficult. He wanted her to feel comfortable, not overwhelmed. From time to time, Elias caught Mara watching him with quiet curiosity, as if she couldn't understand why someone would treat her kindly without asking anything in return. He pretended not to notice. He didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. Around midday, Elias saddled his horse to check the far end of the ranch. Mara stood nearby, unsure if she should stay inside or follow him. "You can come if you'd like," Elias said. "Or you can rest. Either is fine." Mara hesitated, then said, "I'll come. I don't want to be alone yet." Elias helped her onto the horse carefully, making sure she sat securely. He sat behind her, not close enough to make her uneasy, but close enough to keep her safe. The wind brushed against them as they rode slowly across the open fields. The world around them was calm golden grass swaying in the breeze, birds soaring overhead, and the sound of hooves steady on the ground. As they traveled, Mara finally felt a small sense of peace. It had been so long since she felt safe enough to breathe without fear. When they reached the far fence, Elias dismounted to check a broken post. Mara stayed on the horse, watching him work. She noticed how patient and steady he was with every task. He didn't rush. He didn't complain. He simply did what needed to be done, quietly and honestly. After he fixed the fence, Elias looked up at her. "You okay up there?" She nodded. "Yes, I feel calmer out here."
"Good," he replied.
The land has that effect on people. They rode back slowly, enjoying the silence in the open air. By afternoon, clouds rolled in, and a soft rain began to fall. Elias brought the animals inside the barn, while Mara held the door open. When they finished, they stood under the roof of the barn, watching the rain fall in soft lines. "It's beautiful," Mara whispered. "It is," Elias agreed. "The land always needs rain." Mara looked at him. "Elias, why are you helping me this much?" "You don't even know me," Elias thought for a moment before answering. "Because you needed help. And if someone needs help, I don't look away." "That's how I was raised." Mara lowered her gaze. "I wish more people thought like you," Elias didn't reply. But the way he looked at her, steady, kind, honest, said enough. As evening came, Elias prepared dinner, while Mara swept the floor and folded clean towels. The house felt warmer than the night before, not only because of the fire, but because there was a sense of calm settling inside. During dinner, they talked quietly. Mara asked about the ranch, about the animals, about how Elias lived alone. He told her the truth: he had survived by keeping busy and staying strong after losing his parents. He never expected company, but he didn't mind it now. For the first time in a long time, the house didn't feel empty. After dinner, Mara sat near the fireplace, watching the flames dance. Elias sat across the room, fixing an old rope. The quiet space between them felt peaceful. Finally, Mara spoke softly. "I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but today, I felt safe." "That's what matters," Elias said gently. She looked up at him, her eyes warm with gratitude. "Thank you. For everything," Elias nodded. "You don't have to thank me. I'm just glad you're safe." Mara wrapped the blanket around herself and leaned back, letting the warmth of the fire calm her tired body. For the second night in a row, she felt secure, something she never thought she would feel again. Outside, the rain softened into a quiet drizzle. Inside, the cowboy and the young woman sat in peaceful silence, unaware that the days ahead would bring challenges, choices, and a connection neither of them expected. But for now, one thing was clear: Mara was no longer facing the frontier alone. And Elias Ward, a man who had spent years in quiet solitude, was no longer as alone as he once believed. The next morning began quietly on the ranch. The rain from the night before left the air fresh and cool. Small puddles shone under the rising sun, and the earth smelled rich and calm. Elias stepped out of the house early, as he always did, to check the land. Mara woke soon after, feeling rested but still unsure of her future. She stood at the door and watched him from a distance. He moved with steady purpose, feeding the animals, checking the fences, walking with his usual calm. She admired how simple his routine was, yet how much care he put into everything he did. This ranch was his whole world, and he lived each day with quiet strength. When he returned to the house, he found Mara preparing a small breakfast. She turned and gave a shy smile. "I wanted to help," she said softly. "You don't have to," Elias replied, but he appreciated the gesture. "Still, thank you." They sat at the table and ate quietly at first, the soft morning light touching their faces. After a few minutes, Mara put down her cup and looked at Elias with thoughtful eyes. "Elias," she began slowly, "I need to talk to you about something." He nodded, waiting patiently. Mara drew a deep breath, gathering strength. Last night I started thinking about the words I said when we first met, when I was scared. I said anything I could to make you lower your gun. I didn't even think. I wasn't in my right mind. Elias smiled softly. I know, you were afraid. But I didn't mean those words, Mara said, her voice shaking slightly. I said them because I thought it was the only way to survive. I don't want you to think I came here with strange intentions, or that I expect anything from you. Elias leaned back in his chair. His expression was calm, gentle. Mara, you don't owe me anything. I lowered my gun because I saw you were alone and frightened, not because of your words. She looked relieved, but also emotional. I just don't want you to think I was trying to trick you. You didn't, Elias said firmly. I trusted my own judgment, not your desperate words. And I never expected anything from you? Mara lowered her eyes, grateful. A quiet moment passed between them, filled with understanding. After breakfast, they both stepped outside. Mara helped him gather firewood, and together they walked toward the barn to check on the horses. The sun was warm on their backs, and the dew made the ground shine as they worked. Mara noticed how Elias always stayed close enough to guide her, but gave her space to move freely. He taught her how to brush Dusty's coat, how to check the hooves, and how to calm a nervous horse. Mara listened with interest, feeling more confident as the morning went on. You're learning quickly, Elias said. It's because you're a good teacher, she replied, smiling. Elias looked away with a quiet laugh. I've never taught anyone before. Well, Mara said, you're doing a good job. The simple exchange made them both feel lighter. Later that day, while they were fixing a section of the fence, Mara suddenly froze. Her eyes widened with fear. Elias followed her gaze and saw 3 figures on horseback approaching from the distance. He placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Stay behind me. Mara nodded, her heart pounding. The riders drew closer. When they reached the fence, Elias recognized them as nearby ranchers who lived several miles away. He knew them well enough to greet them calmly. Morning, Elias, one of them said. We heard a rumor someone was looking for a young woman in this area. Just curious if you've seen anyone. Mara's breath caught in her throat, but Elias didn't look back or hesitate. No, he said simply. Haven't seen anyone pass by. The ranchers exchanged glances. You sure? Folks said she might be nearby. Elias kept his expression steady, I'm sure. There was something in his voice firm, unshakable, that ended the questioning. The men nodded and turned their horses. Well, if you see anything, let us know. Elias only nodded politely. As the men rode away, Mara slowly stepped out from behind him, her legs weak with relief. You didn't have to protect me like that, she whispered. Yes, Elias replied quietly. I did. Mara looked at him as if seeing him with new eyes. He hadn't just offered her shelter. He had offered her safety, even when others came asking. I'm not going to let anyone take you somewhere you don't want to go, he added. Her hands trembled slightly this time, not from fear, but from the overwhelming feeling of being cared for. The rest of the day passed calmly. Mara helped Elias cook supper, and they talked about simple things, the weather, the animals, and memories from Elias's childhood. Mara didn't share much about her past yet, but she felt no pressure. Elias never pushed her to reveal anything she wasn't ready to say. After dinner, they sat outside on the porch. The sky was purple and golden again, just like the night she arrived. The air was peaceful, and the land stretched endlessly before them. Mara spoke softly. Do you ever feel lonely out here? Elias looked out at the fields. Sometimes. But the land keeps me grounded. And now? She asked, almost afraid of the answer. Elias glanced at her. It doesn't feel as lonely as before. Mara's heart warmed. She looked down at her hands, thinking deeply. Elias, she said after a quiet moment, I don't know where I belong anymore. Everything in my life changed so fast. I thought I lost everything, but here, with you, I feel safe. You are safe, Elias replied, and I want to stay, she said softly, not because I have nowhere else to go, but because I feel like I can build a life again here, slowly, one day at a time. Elias didn't speak right away, not because he was unsure, but because he wanted to choose the right words. Mara, he said gently, you don't have to rush yourself. You have time to think, whether you stay or go. I want you to choose freely." "I am choosing," she said, looking into his eyes. "Oh, and I choose to stay." The quiet honesty between them settled like warm light. Over the next weeks, life on the ranch found a new rhythm. Mara grew stronger each day. She learned to ride a horse on her own, helped Elias repair the barn roof, and even planted new flowers outside the house. For the first time in a long time, she felt useful. Elias noticed her courage returning. He also noticed how the house felt warmer with her inside, how the silence was softer, how the days felt less heavy. He didn't say anything, but something had changed inside him as well. Mara had become a part of his daily life in a way he hadn't expected. The neighbors also noticed. Some greeted her kindly when they passed by. Others whispered, wondering who she was. But Elias never let rumors bother him. One evening, they sat by the fire. Mara looked at Elias with soft eyes. "I don't know what the future holds," she said, "but I want to be here, with you, for whatever comes next." Elias nodded slowly, "Then stay. We'll face everything together." She smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Spring arrived with bright flowers and warm winds. The ranch had never looked more alive. Mara felt more like herself than she had in many years. She no longer walked with fear in her heart. Oh, she laughed more. She slept without nightmares. Oh, she worked side by side with Elias each day. And one morning, while they stood near the corral watching the young horses run, Elias turned to her with a calm but meaningful expression. "Mara," he said, "we've shared months together now. You've brought light into this ranch in ways I never expected. I don't want you to feel uncertain about your place anymore." She looked at him, her heart beating a little faster. "I want you to stay," continued gently, "not just as a guest, but as part of my life, part of this home." Mara's eyes softened with emotion. She stepped closer, the sunlight touching her face. "I already feel like this is my home," she whispered, "because you made it safe for me." Elias smiled, a real warm smile she had rarely seen from him. "Then let's build a future together. Simple, steady, and honest." Mara nodded, tears of gratitude filling her eyes. "Yes, I want that." They stood there quietly, the breeze moving around them, the horses running freely in the field. It was a peaceful moment, gentle, hopeful, full of promise. The words she had once spoken in fear words she never meant were forgotten. What mattered now was the trust and calm they built slowly, day by day. She had found a safe place. He had found someone who brought warmth into his quiet world. And together, they began the first steps of building a life neither of them expected, but both of them needed. Everything had changed that night. He lowered his gun. And everything that followed changed them even more.